to welcome you for part 2 of accessing and using funding for registered apprenticeship. And as we go through, you will want to keep your microphones muted. And then we'll get ready to proceed. I'll hand it off to Haley in just a minute.
Yep, we are waiting just one more second for folks to get all loaded in, and then we're going to get started.
Yeah, you can go ahead and place in the chat your name and your organization and any cool information that you want to share with us.
All right, well, as y'all are doing that, I think I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So, we are delighted to welcome you to this webinar on Investing in Early Childhood Education Careers, Part 2. Accessing and using funding for registered apprenticeship, presented in collaboration with the Council for Professional Recognition and the Early Childhood Workforce Connector. Today's webinar is part of a series dedicated to highlighting registered apprenticeship programs in the field of early childhood education. This underscores our commitment to providing knowledge and resources for professional growth in this field. To turn on, so first we've got a few bits of housekeeping. To turn on closed captions, click the 3 dots labeled as More in the bottom right corner and select Captions from the menu. All participants are muted upon entry. There will be an opportunity between sections and at the end of the presentation for Q&A. You are welcome to unmute and ask your questions at these times. We also have team members monitoring the chat, so you can pop your questions in there throughout the presentation. The slide deck will be shared following the presentation, and a recording will be available on our CAN network. Let's dive in. Now, first, let's get to know our presenters. I'm Haley Brush, the Public Policy and Advocacy Manager here at the Council for Professional Recognition. I started my career in early childhood systems building at the local level, first in Philadelphia and then in DC, where I focused on providing technical assistance and emergency funding supports before joining the council. Here, I lead our policy efforts, including coordinating our federal and state strategy, policy-related communications, and our advocate engagement. I'd also like to introduce Marjorie Cohen, the project manager for the Early Childhood Workforce Connector, who has over 20 years of experience in education and workforce development policy and research, technical assistance, program management, and project leadership. Marjorie supports early childhood education providers, in-demand sector employers, secondary and post-secondary education institutions, state and local agencies, and other key stakeholders to provide high-quality registered apprenticeship programs for the ECE workforce. I also want you to meet April McDonough, a multifaceted professional excelling in grants management and instructional design. As a grants management specialist, April assists individuals and organizations in securing funding for educational projects, leveraging her expertise to transform businesses and educational institutions. With a background in instructional design, April has a proven track record of developing engaging online courses and materials tailored to diverse learners. She brings a wealth of experience in coaching, mentoring, curriculum development, and communication skills to her role as a subject matter expert in higher education on the ECWC team. And last, but certainly not least, Rebecca Smith is an accomplished professional in early childhood education, currently serving as the apprenticeship consultant with the Kentucky Governor's Office of Early Childhood. With 19 years in the industry, she's dedicated to fostering excellence in early education. Rebecca has played a pivotal role in developing and implementing programs prioritizing young learners' well-being and educational growth. In her current role, she spearheads efforts to advance apprenticeship programs, aiming to enhance early childhood education quality and empower educators. Rebecca's commitment to continuous improvement and advocacy for apprenticeship programs have made her a driving force in the field, ensuring the next generation of educators receive vital support and training. All right, so let's jump in. Today, we'll unpack a powerful agenda. First, we'll gear up with a deep dive into our partnership with the Early Childhood Workforce Connector, ECWC, and explore their mission. Next, we'll unlock the secrets to return on investment, ROI, in early childhood education. It's more impactful than you might think. Then, we'll navigate the exciting world of diverse funding streams, federal, state, and local, to empower your early childhood programs. Finally, we'll discover the amazing supports available through the ECWC that can help your programs thrive. Get ready to take notes. This session is packed with actionable insights. So many of you here today may already be connected with the council and our work, but I'd like to share a little bit about what we do to make sure everyone is on the same page. We administer the Child Development Associate, or CDA, credential, which is the most widely recognized credential in early childhood education. It is nationally recognized, transferable, and competency-based. It is a key stepping stone on the path to career advancement in early childhood education. To be awarded the credential, candidates must complete an assessment process and demonstrate that they are able to put their knowledge of the CDA competency standards into practice in their daily work with children and families. Candidates can earn their credential in any of the settings that we offer: infant toddler, preschool, family childcare, home visiting, or military school age. Being awarded the CDA means the candidate is qualified to be a lead teacher in the classroom. The Council for Professional Recognition and the Early Childhood Workforce Connector have partnered to support credentialed career pathways for early childhood educators. Registered apprenticeship programs are an important investment in the early childhood workforce, providing high-quality professional learning and equitable compensation. This webinar series will explore how registered apprenticeships provide a professional development pathway to develop skills, advance and sustain successful careers, and strengthen the ECE workforce. The Council for Professional Recognition is a leader in credentialing early childhood educators worldwide. Together with the Early Childhood Workforce Connector, we are working towards advancing the careers of ECE professionals through the Child Development Associate, or the CDA, and U.S. Department of Labor credentialing. We will host these monthly webinar sessions leading up to the 2024 Early Educators Leadership Conference in Washington, D.C. in October. The Early Childhood Workforce Connector will be presenting alongside their partners to dive deeper into registered apprenticeship programs for ECE. And with that, I will kick it off to Marjorie.
Thanks, Haley. We love doing these webinars, and we're really excited to be here again. So just a quick, who are we? So Early Childhood Workforce Connector is one of two new early childhood education registered apprenticeship industry intermediaries, which is a mouthful. But basically, the Early Childhood Workforce Connector promotes developing, launching, and expanding registered apprenticeship programs to support and sustain a diverse, inclusive, well-qualified, and well-compensated early childhood education workforce. ECE registered apprenticeship programs with high-quality, accessible, supportive, and equitable early childhood program employers lift the entire community and the local workforce. A strong, inclusive, and robust early childhood ecosystem contributes to the health and well-being of young children and their families, as well as the broader economy. As a U.S. Department of Labor funded early childhood education intermediary, ECWC provides customized technical assistance, including help with curriculum development, outreach and recruitment, mentor training, accessing available funding, and much more. And that's part of that is what we're going to get into today. But before we do that, I want to give everyone just a quick refresher for folks who may be new to the webinar series, or folks who may have forgotten the details around a registered apprenticeship. So, as we discussed in our previous webinars, registered apprenticeship is can we move one side, please? Thank you. There you go. We discussed in our previous webinars, registered apprenticeship is a structured Department of Labor approved training model. So I just want to quickly give an overview of what that registered apprenticeship is before we dive into navigating the funding sources to support this training model. So here are the 7 main components of registered apprenticeship. First, it's industry-led. Programs are industry vetted, and the early childhood education field helps to vet them and approved to ensure alignment with industry standards. Apprentices are trained for highly skilled and high demand occupations, which we all know early childhood occupations are. So it's a paid job. Apprenticeships are in fact a paid job. Apprentices earn a progressive wage as their skills and their productivity increase. It is structured on-the-job learning. The programs provide structured on-the-job training to prepare for a successful career, which includes instruction from an experienced mentor. They also include supplemental education. Apprentices are provided supplemental classroom education based on employers' unique training needs to ensure quality and success. Diversity. The programs are designed to reflect the communities in which they operate through strong non-discrimination, anti-harassment, and recruitment practices, ensure access, equity, inclusion. Quality and safety. Apprentices are afforded worker protections while receiving rigorous training to equip them with the skills they need to succeed and the proper training and supervision they need to be safe. And finally, one of the big pieces of registered apprenticeship are credentials. Apprentices earn a portable, nationally recognized credential within their industry when they complete a registered apprenticeship program. Let's talk a little bit more generally about how the registered apprenticeship system works in the US. As you can see from the map, there are two different types of states and who oversees registered apprenticeship. So the light blue states are those where registered apprenticeship programs are facilitated by the US Department of Labor Office of Apprenticeship. That is, they are federally operated and facilitated. The dark blue states are overseen by the state apprenticeship agencies. These states follow the rules and regulations from the Office of Apprenticeship, as well as adhering to state-specific guidelines. Take a moment to identify your state on the map and see whether it's dark blue or light blue, who it is who helps to oversee and facilitate registered apprenticeships in your state. All right, so we always talk about work-based learning and we talk about registered apprenticeship versus apprenticeship. So let's just show a little bit of this comparison, right? So on this slide, we see a visual comparison of work-based learning programs. In the far right column, we've highlighted the guarantees with a registered apprenticeship program. As you can see, registered apprenticeship is a commitment to increasing knowledge and skill through industry-approved on-the-job training and coursework, as well as mentorship, as I mentioned before. Registered apprenticeship also includes access to additional funding and other resources from federal programs, many of which we will go over today. And lastly, again, as I mentioned, graduates receive nationally recognized credentials. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits. We are all here to learn about how to fund registered apprenticeships, but let's just make sure we're all on the same page about why we want to do a registered apprenticeship for early childhood. So registered apprenticeship helps early childhood educators flourish by supporting high quality, accessible, and equitable learning opportunities that enable them to enrich the lives of their children, family, and communities, while also increasing access to childcare. For employers, registered apprenticeship increases employee retention. The data from the US Department of Labor right now is that currently 90% of apprentices remain with their host employer after completing a registered apprenticeship program. Again, that is for all registered apprenticeship program, but we are seeing very similar numbers in early childhood. And employers and program providers also benefit from customized workforce training that meets the needs of their specific workforce. Apprentices benefit from progressive wages as they gain more knowledge and skills. Again, it's a job, and as apprentices learn more, become more competent, there is a wage scale. And as I mentioned twice, so I'm going to say it again, apprentice graduates receive nationally recognized credentials from the US Department of Labor that do not expire. Now, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, April, to learn about funding sources for some of these incredible programs. Thanks, April.
Thank you. Well, before we dive into this jam-packed information session, let's go ahead and start with the poll. So in the chat, take a second to think about, what does return on investment for early childhood education mean to you? And then type your answer into the chat. I'm going to hit the chat here and read some of your responses. No responses yet? So what does early child return on investment? Qualified teachers, yes. Adequate supply, high qualified staff, yep. Quality education, less abuse, absolutely. Getting more for what you do, increasing high quality in ECE, retention, the ability to provide high quality programs, means more for providing more for children, building your program, absolutely. Quality education for our kids, increasing program quality. It sounds like that you all absolutely have a handle on return on investment in your ECE programs. Closing the equity gap, great one there. Equitable salaries, absolutely. Giving back to the community, yes, yes, great answers. Better wages and quality programs. You're right. We're going to move on to the next slide and we're going to dive into return on investment for early childhood education. Return on investment in ECE registered apprenticeship. So now let's shift our gears and talk about the additional benefits of early childhood education registered apprenticeships. And you might be wondering, what is return on investment here? You all provided some amazing answers in the chat, and you're right. In simple terms, return on investment is the way that we measure the benefit that you get from investment. And it's like figuring out how much something pays off compared to what you put into it. We know that registered return on investment for early childhood education, registered apprenticeship is more than money, it's holistic. It benefits not just one entity, but the entire early education ecosystem. For apprentices, it offers opportunity for career advancement, increased learning and earning potential, and valuable work experience while learning. For employers, it offers a pipeline for skilled and qualified early childhood educators. It reduces the recruitment, it reduces recruitment and turnover rate, it increases recruitment and reduces turnover rate. It improves program quality, leading to better outcomes for children. And for the ECE field, it provides a stronger, more qualified workforce, increases capacity to meet the growing demand for early childhood education, and enhances the reputation and professionalism in the field. So when we invest in early childhood registered apprenticeship, we're investing in the future of our children. Let's go to the next slide and take a look and dive a little deeper into the cost of registered apprenticeship. So if you did miss our first session, like some of you did, before we talk about any sort of funding or any sort of return on investment, we need to begin to consider the impact of that registered apprenticeship, the impact of ROI on our needs for registered apprenticeship. So developing and implementing your registered apprenticeship carries a cost. So including creating the program framework and ensuring that you understand the reporting and compliance and regulation requirements. Also, investment in apprenticeship development like OJT and related technical instruction is another cost. Apprenticeship compensation is another key cost aspect where as an apprentice advance their skills, so too does their compensation. They are salaried employees whose earnings increase with their growing expertise, and many also receive benefits such as health insurance, which require further contributions to the program cost. Investment in resources and training beyond salaries, significant resources are allocated to ensure the apprentices have the necessary tools and materials for effective training equipment that will help them succeed. Effective outreach strategies and selection strategies are also a key aspect of funding, and because you'll want to attract and retain the most capable candidates for your apprenticeship program. Though these investments are substantial, the returns are equally significant. We're not just nurturing a skilled workforce, but also enhancing the quality of early childhood education and fortifying our communities for the future. By understanding these financial commitments, especially in the areas of like wages and benefits, we can enable programs to transform these investments into enduring success stories. All of these considerations funnel into return on investment. So let's explore return on investment for registered apprenticeship. The good news is that all registered apprenticeships offer a strong return on investment for employers and everyone at the table. Nationally, studies show that employers see a benefit of about $1.50 for every $1 invested in registered apprenticeship programs. But did you know that return on investment is not just about finances? And this group seems to already know that. One critical aspect of return on investment in early childhood education registered apprenticeship is the significant reduction in staff turnover. We've discussed that an impressive 90% of apprentices stay with their employer post-completion, greatly decreasing the cost and disruption linked to constantly refilling positions. Investment in these programs not only work to maintain a stable workforce, but also represent a substantial investment in education, training, staff development, facilitating greater career advancement opportunities to grow an experienced, high qualified, and well-compensated ECE workforce. Investment also enhances educational outcomes for children as skilled, knowledgeable staff provides higher quality education, which improves the learning environment, leads to better educational results, which drives parental satisfaction and boosts enrollment rates. So this comprehensive focus on professional development through apprenticeship ensures a dedicated, capable workforce, bolstering organizational success and strengthening the ECE system overall. Let's look at how return on investment supports your RA program in other ways. So return on investment impacts not only the financial returns, but works to enhance the entire community. Return on investment in early childhood education provides a multiplier effect, which supports children by improving educational outcomes, leading to lower dropout rates, higher college attendance, fostering economic growth as well-educated children become productive adults, and providing social benefits by reducing inequalities and building social cohesion through accessible and nurturing environments that support holistic child development. Return on investment also enhances financial and program stability by helping to secure ongoing funding, long-term planning, and improvements, and allow for expansion of services like extended hours, enriched curriculums that benefit children and their families, and provide the means to invest in innovative teaching tools, approaches, improving the educational outcomes, and attracting more apprentices. So our return on investment takes funding. Let's look at some ways we can access this funding. But before we get started, let's take a poll. So which of the following funds do you feel you have the clearest understanding of? All right. So do you have a clear understanding of federal, state, or local funding, or none of the above? I don't have any understanding of any of the funding. I'll wait for our poll answers. The funding can be a little tricky. Marjorie, do you have a question in the chat?
No, I was going to let you know that it looks like 25% say federal, 33% say state, 12% say local, and 29% say none of the above.
Oh, wow. We have a really good mix of knowledge along with a lot of uncertainty. So let's see if we can help you understand a little bit more by giving you some tips, some resources as we move forward. Next slide, please. We know that the power of return on investment in early childhood education extends beyond finances and education. It strengthens the community with better educational outcomes. It fosters economic growth and reduces inequalities. So now let's take a look at diverse funding streams for federal, state, and local, designed to empower your early childhood education programs and turn your return on investment into reality. Next slide, please. If you attended the April funding webinar, Early Childhood Workforce Connector introduced funding opportunities offered by federal partners like the U.S. Department of Labor, Education, Health and Human Services, as well as state initiatives offering tax credits, grants, scholarships, wraparound services, and local champions, including community-based organizations, providing opportunities that support an early childhood education. So let's do a quick review of those for the folks who couldn't attend. Federal programs offer a wide range of resources for registered apprenticeship overall that significantly bolster the workforce development and education. Some examples of these opportunities are Pell Grants that provide financial aid to students in need with colleges and career and technical funding. Military GI Bill that offer education benefits to veterans and their families. And as you see from the slide, just a few examples of how federal programs play an important role in building a skilled workforce that to meet the evolving community needs. Next up, we can look at federal funding specifically for early childhood education. So I want to take one step back and say when you're looking for funding at the federal level, especially with like the Department of Labor, you don't have to specifically look for funding that is early childhood education related. You can always look for funding that is apprenticeship or work-based support. Doesn't have to specifically say early childhood education, but the federal government does have funding that can support specifically the early childhood education registered apprenticeship. For example, agencies offer support. These agencies for early childhood education, including the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Education. Next slide, please. One of the easiest places to start for funding for your search is your state. Many state departments of labor, health and human services, and apprenticeship offices offer funding that directly support your early childhood education registered apprenticeship that support the sponsor and or employer and the apprentice. For example, the TEACH program and scholarship offer support for early childhood education credentials and education, while the WAGE program offers salary supplement support for the apprentice. Initiatives like the Apprenticeship Expansion Grant support sponsors and employers by providing funding to register new apprentices and expand existing programs. Also, many states offer tax credits for registered apprenticeship, and these tax credits support the sponsor or employer by incentivizing hiring new apprentices. Beyond these specific programs, many states offer additional financial support such as scholarship or tuition assistance for registered apprenticeship programs, opening doors for a wide range of candidates to join the ECE workforce. So let's explore some local funding. We learned that federal and state funding support is key in increasing access to quality early childhood education registered apprenticeship, and that this funding benefits numerous stakeholders. When seeking funding, remember that local governments and local programs like the Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Education often provide foundational funding and regulatory support. Creating a framework within your early childhood education register apprenticeship initiative that can help you thrive. Community-based organizations like Goodwill play a critical role in directly reaching out to potential educators and apprentices, offering localized training resources tailored to your community's specific needs. Educational institutions, including colleges and vocational schools, are instrumental in delivering the structured learning and certification process necessary for advancing professional skills in the ECE registered apprenticeship fields. Additionally, contributions from private sectors are crucial. They not only supplement funding, but also include partnership that can provide practical training opportunities essential for a real-world experience. Together, these diverse funding sources and contributions ensure a robust support system for fostering skilled professionals in early childhood education and support the apprentice. The Early Childhood Workforce Connector is working with a partner who has a private sector support. This partner works directly with John Deere. In their research, they found that a lot of the parents in their area worked for the John Deere organization. Working with John Deere, they were able to secure consistent funding to help them support their registered apprenticeship program. And John Deere recognizes the importance of supporting their own workforce by investing in their registered apprenticeship program. For some of you, when we talk about WIOA, you may know everything about it. And if you were in the last webinar in April, we did a brief overview of WIOA. A lot of the funding that you seek, one of the biggest, can be confusing and hard to go after, but programs like WIOA every state has WIOA funding, and that's like low-hanging fruit that you can grab. So for some of you, this information might be a refresher from the March and April webinar, but for this, we're going to go deeper into the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act and dive a little bit deeper on how you can access those fundings. So let's break it down. First, we're going to talk about what is a workforce system and how it works. A workforce system is a comprehensive, coordinated, collaborative regional system of services and policies addressing employer-demanded skills for now and the future. Workforce development systems work with workforce development boards to build high-quality pipelines of skilled workers to address employer needs, fill in-demand jobs, and contribute to economic health and growth of the region. So how does it work? So workforce systems obtain federal funding like WIOA through state agencies who can provide employers training dollars, supportive services like on-the-job training, industry partnerships, sector strategy support, and engagement with other businesses. These systems also work with career seekers to support and enhance access to education, training, and job opportunities for individuals with a focus on those that face barriers to employment by providing supports such as internet access, childcare stipends, transportation assistance, and career coaching. They do this by providing WIOA dollars. So the beauty of WIOA lies in its adaptability. These funds equip your local workforce system to provide support and assistance to employers, workers, youth, and adults. So accessing these training dollars, employers, first you need to go to your state's WIOA website or your state Department of Labor website. And most cases, you'll need to fill out the eligible training provider application. Also, if you cannot find the WIOA information on your WIOA or Department of Labor site, you might want to look in your state's Career One Stop. The next step, once you fill out the application and get approved to be the eligible training provider, you will work with your local workforce development board to develop an individual training account for each apprentice. This is where you'll be able to access that money and reimbursement and support for your OJT and the other resources. If you'd like more information about the process, Early Childhood Workforce Connector is happy to partner and assist you with identifying how WIOA works with your state. So now we have a little bit of information on funding. WIOA is a big one. We're going to talk about applying for the funding. One of the biggest hurdles is putting all of this onto paper and getting that funding. So when you're preparing to apply for funding, there's a great deal to consider, but 4 major components can bring you success. First, make sure you read the announcement and start aligning your application clearly to demonstrate how your program aligns with the funder's objectives. Second, you want to emphasize the importance of data in your proposal. So use relevant statistics and research findings to underline the need for your program and to predict its outcomes and success. But beyond the numbers, you want to tell the story of your program. Share real life examples and testimonials to illustrate the. You might want to make sure you're muted. Thank you. to share real life experiences and testimonials to illustrate the impact of your work on the community. This also helps create a vivid picture of the benefits and the changes that your program brings to the community. Finally, it's crucial to illustrate a financial forethought. So provide detailed accounts of your budget strategies and past financial management successes. Building this transparency will build confidence in your program and your program's ability to efficiently manage funding. By focusing on these elements, you can create a persuasive and effective funding application. By creating a compelling funding application and accessing your funding, so maintaining funding stability requires a continuous dedication to developing a robust multi-year financial plan. Diversifying your funding streams through federal grants, state initiatives, local business partnerships, and community organizations, and regularly assessing program effectiveness and fostering strong community relationships to build a supportive network that enhances both financial and advisory support. Taking all of this and putting it together, these combined strategies ensure that you're building sustainability for your ECE RA program. Let's take another poll. So how familiar are you with combining different funding sources to support, sorry, the screen popped up, to support your early childhood education programs? Are you very confident in combining your funding structures? You've never combined structures, but you'd like to do more, or you're not sure at all. I don't know how we're funding our program or what we have out there. I don't see the results coming in. Oh, here we go. I do see the results. All right, so we do have a few who are familiar with the has confidence in blending, braiding, and layering their funding. Most are kind of unsure, like to learn some more, and we have a lot. It's very equal there. So this is amazing, and thank you for that. Let's explore how we're going to look at how we're going to attack this funding. So let's combining fundings in early childhood education, registered apprenticeship. So up next, we're going to dive into strategies and approaches and innovative practices that can enhance funding opportunities and financial stability for ECE programs. We'll explore diverse funding models. We'll learn how to navigate complex funding landscapes and discuss how to effectively leverage these techniques to support and expand high-quality ECE RA programs. So as you know, registered apprenticeship unlocks a variety of funding opportunities, including technical assistance. But it's important to remember that securing state or federal dollars isn't guaranteed. While the registered apprenticeship programs often leverage a range of public sources, no single grant is enough to support your program long-term. Today, we're going to hear from Rebecca Smith with the Kentucky Governor's Office of Early Childhood, who will share an example of how blending, braiding, and layering with funding work for their ECE RA program. Rebecca?
Hi, everybody. I just want to say to everybody, thank you for letting me be here today. So I am the apprenticeship consultant with the Governor's Office of Early Childhood, and our program is a little bit different because we are an intermediary in the state at the state level. Right now, we just started our third cohort of apprentices, and I think we have around 50 graduates from our apprenticeship program and about 150 apprentices in the program right now. So I want to take this time today to tell you a little bit about the funding sources that we use and the resources that we use to support our apprentices. So first of all, the state of Kentucky has funding that they provide outside of the apprenticeship, inside the apprenticeship, for anyone who works in an early childhood education facility to provide a scholarship or scholarship funding for them. This was something that came, we've always had it in Kentucky, but they expanded the amount of money all the way up to full scholarships for anyone who worked in the early childhood education industry with our ARPA funding. We also have a federal grant, the preschool development grant, that we have funding from that we will transition to our scholarships to help keep supporting those scholarship opportunities for our early childhood educators, which can be a big barrier for for apprenticeship. We also have general tobacco settlement funds that supports our office that we use to support our apprentices. We actually have not only provide our apprentices with their work process plans, all of those sorts of things, the scholarships. We also provide incentive funding. So with that, as they work through their apprenticeships, we provide them, it's called WEMA, it's our Wage Increase and Milestone Achievement Program. So with that, we do support the employers with compensation to increase their compensation for their apprentices, as well as we compensate with milestone bonuses for the apprentices, the mentors, and our employee partners, just to help support the apprentices through their journey. And we also have a partnership with the Early Childhood Workforce Connector. They have a funding source that if you are coming into early childhood education apprenticeship, that can support that can support new apprentices that are coming into the program. So I highly recommend reaching out to them to get information for that grant opportunity. Next slide, please. So there's also a lot, we use different funding sources, but also a lot of our funding and resources come from partners that we work with. Those partners may have funds of programs that they already provide that can be resources to our apprentices. We work very closely with our Office of Employer and Apprenticeship. Kentucky is an SAA state, so we do have that office that is held within our state that allows us to reach out to them for technical advice. Kentucky has dedicated a full position to early childhood education apprenticeship technical assistance. So anybody in the state of Kentucky who has an apprenticeship program, there's a liaison directly from their office to help them. We also work with our Division of Child Care. They provide scholarship funding. They also help to support our employers, all of those sorts of things. We work with our Office of Adult Education with services that they also they already offer, but we make sure that our apprentices, if they need any assistance with their classes, with their CDA classes, that sort of thing, the Office of Office of Adult Education can help them. We use Child Care Aware of Kentucky to help our apprentices make sure that they're on the right track with their PD coaches. They go into the centers, they help them set them up for whatever classes that they may want to take, if they want to do their CDA, if they want to do their bachelor's degree, associate's degree, they get them set on the right path to making sure that they have the funding that they need, whether it be federal money, whether it be Pell Grants, all of those sorts of things. We work with the Kentucky Career Center. In Kentucky Career, the Career Center has something that they fund called the WIN Career Readiness System, which is all work skills, social skills. We have our apprentices do the social skills training. We have them do the digital literacy training to set them up for success when they're going through the program. We also have the Kentucky Chamber that we use. We have a talent pipeline management system that is supporting our early childhood education field, and we call it fueling the talent pipeline, but they work with us, they help us recruit, they help us get new apprentices into the program. And then, of course, the Early Childhood Workforce Connector, they help us with all sorts of things. We have a great partnership with them, and they support us with technical help. They help us develop marketing. They do all kinds of stuff for us. So I highly recommend reaching out to them. And then we also, within our apprenticeship program, use the Pritchard Family Friendly Certificate Program, which helps our apprentices and our employer partners build family relationships within their centers. So that is a very high level of how we blend and braid our funding. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to put my information if anybody wants to reach out about funding sources and partners that we use.
Thank you, Rebecca. So as we just learned that funding and understanding how to blend, braid, and layer the funding requires collaboration across many networks. So utilizing this approach, we assist with navigating the challenges in your ECE RA program. As we saw from Rebecca, there are lots of resources, federal, state, and local funding that they're tapping into to support their registered apprenticeship program. Next slide, please. Let's dive into a poll. Let's talk about the resources and tools that you can use for funding. So answer the question, I'm aware of the tools and resources that are available to support successful funding strategies. Yes, you're a pro. You know what those resources are. No, you need resources, or you're unsure about what resources are out there. Seems like from the group we have a pretty good grasp on some of the things for funding. All right, so it seems like most of the team needs resources. Well, you're in luck. We have some good resources that we're going to share with you in a few minutes to help you get started with your funding strategy. So now that we've touched on diverse funding streams, let's talk about the resources, tools to support a successful registered apprenticeship early childhood education program. So we discussed, next slide, please. We've discussed developing your funding plan for ECE. Now let's look at the strategy to obtain the funding that you need. The first thing you want to do, like we said in the last webinar, is start assessing your financial needs and understand the potential funding sources and the criteria for attaining those. Prepare a compelling data-driven proposal aligned with the funder's goals, manage your finances rigorously, and comply with reporting standards, and evaluate your strategy's effectiveness and make necessary adjustments. Most importantly, be ready to shift your strategy to meet the needs of your funders, your apprentices, and your community. This comprehensive approach will enhance your program's sustainability and management, working to support and grow a successful career pathway and early childhood education registered apprenticeship. Now let's look at some of the resources to assist you. So while I go through this slide, our team is going to be placing some resources in the chat for you. And so where do we start? Well, there's a wealth of resources that exist to support you in your funding search. So grant search platforms such as grants.gov and the Foundations Directory can help you with finding specific registered apprenticeship early childhood education funding. Other resources such as financial management tools such as return on investment calculators provide support to help you manage your program. Organizations such as NACCE and the Council on Foundations offer educational webinars geared towards funding and funding support to help with maintaining funding and ensuring that you're positioned to establish and sustain an inclusive, equitable, highly skilled ECE workforce. So in the chat, you'll find the resource document link to guide you on your funding journey. Up next, did you know that the Early Childhood Workforce Connector offers technical support and assistance? Let's take a look. So the ECWC Early Childhood Workforce Connector offers a comprehensive range of support and assistance to new or expanding registered apprenticeship programs. We are here to help registered apprenticeships make it easier for those involved. Our staff can meet a team where they are and in the process and customize the following services based on your need. We assist with outreach and education through customized presentations, education materials, marketing templates, and assistance with fostering connections for registered apprenticeship. Our team can assess and align professional learning programs with registered apprenticeship requirements and practices, including ECE coursework and mentorship materials. We offer innovative apprentice recruitment materials and strategies, and ECWC assists programs in exploring and utilizing multiple funding streams to support apprentice success and program sustainability. We do this all at no cost. The Early Childhood Workforce Connector, we also have an incentive fund. So eligibility for the Early Childhood Workforce Connector incentive fund is available for early childhood education, registered apprenticeship sponsors, and/or employers who partner with Early Childhood Workforce Connector and receive ongoing technical assistance and support. The funding is correlated to each new apprentice enrolled in an established early childhood education registered apprenticeship program, or for startup costs for developing and registering an early childhood education apprenticeship. This is one-time funding opportunity for the registered apprenticeship sponsor or employer. We offer up to $1,000 per apprentice with a cap of up to $40,000 per organization. The incentive fund cannot be used for wages and does not go to the apprentice, but on the screen you see I've listed just a few ideas of how these funds can be utilized, such as classroom supplies, technology support, translation services, mentor training, or marketing to support your ECE RA program. The funding is available to registered apprenticeship sponsors or employers to offset the cost of developing, implementing, or expanding registered apprenticeship programs. To learn more, contact the Early Childhood Workforce Connector. And this slide here gives you all of our connections. You can email us at info@ecwconnector.org. ecwconnector.org is our website. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, sign up on for our newsletter. And then if you need to, you can also contact the council at their website and also sign up for their newsletter. Next slide. Marjorie, or some of the ECWC team, did we have any questions in the chat?
We do not have any questions that have not been answered.
Okay.
And most of them have been about, how to create registered apprenticeship and whether a state is an SAA state or an OA state. And then we've gotten several times and I've had a chance to answer. But yes, this webinar will be available to watch. It will be recorded. Or it is being recorded, as the case may be. It will, the recording and the slide deck will be available after this webinar. I would also like to say that you can find all of the previous webinars on the council website in their council alumni network webpage, the CAN network. That is where you can find all the previous ones, including the part 1 of our funding webinar. But you can also learn more about things like what registered apprenticeship is, and a little more in depth. And you can also learn about how to access the workforce development system, as well as that's it, and funding. So there you go. You've got great information at cdacouncil.org, where you can get a lot of this information. And so again, you can. I'm looking at the chat right now. Again, you can get to all of the original webinars in the CAN website that is through the web address that they just put in, cdacouncil.org, and cancelcan.org. For somebody who had asked, Jamie had asked, how is this being promoted across the country to help professionals moving from state to state get reciprocity for education? Part of that is the work that we and others are doing to make a lot of this as sort of national as possible. Haley, would you like to take over?
Yes, thank you, Marjorie. I will close us out. So we hope you will join us for the culminating session of this series at the Early Educators Leadership Conference. You can find more information about the conference on the council website. And there are more sessions as part of this series. The next two are in June. First, empowering the ECE workforce through registered apprenticeship partnerships with education institutions. And the second, in July, we will also be hosting a webinar called Pathways and Opportunities, Exploring Careers in Early Childhood Education and Embracing Registered Apprenticeship. You can register for those on the Council Alumni Network as well. And here is the web address for that website in case you don't have it yet. And thank you all very much for joining us today.